Basically, a verb is a word that shows action or a state of being. The verb is the strongest word in a sentence, and a complete sentence must have a verb, so that verb is an all-important word. When verbs are discussed, tense, number, passive, active, helper, object, regular, irregular, participles, gerunds, and infinitives are all words associated with using verbs correctly. That sounds like a lot, and it is. But the good news is that you use most of these correctly, probably without even thinking about their use. In this lesson, let's focus on the four that creates the majority of our verb confusions types. Agreement of number, tense, and regular or irregular for gerund, participle, and infinitives are examined further in the parallelism lesson, and passive and active are discussed in separate lesson. First, you need to be able to recognize the kind of verb, action, or state of being. The kind of verb will impact other choices you make in the sentence, such as the object. Action verbs are generally easy to recognize because, as their names indicate, they show action. You can picture something being done. Run, eat, whisper, and sleep are examples. Dozens of verbs are action verbs. I rode to town. The verb is rode, so rode is an action verb. State of being verbs, on the other hand, link the subject to the rest of the sentence, with is, I am, were, was, are, and be, for example. Nothing is happening. There is no action. In this example, I am happy. Am is the verb telling the reader that I am in a happy state of mind. No action is occurring. Sometimes the state of being verb is used as a helping verb for an action verb rather than the main verb. I'm going to town. In this example, am becomes a helper to going, which is an action word. So the complete verb is I'm going, identifying action. The first two steps in using verbs correctly are to recognize the verb and be able to identify it as being action or state of being. After locating and identifying the verb, the next requirement is that it agrees in number with the subject of the sentence. In other words, if the subject is singular, then the verb has to be singular. If the subject is plural, then the verb must be plural. The cat ran or runs around the house. Cat answers the question of who or what the sentence is about, so it's the subject. Cat without an S means only one, so it's singular. Now what about the verb run? Without an S is the plural. Runs with the S is the singular. So the correct sentence is the cat runs around the house. That's a simplistic example. But here's a more challenging sentence that shows the importance of correctly identifying the subject. The stream beyond the hills flows gently. Who or what flows gently? The stream. Only one stream. So a singular verb is needed with the S. The stream beyond the hills flows gently. However, if hills, the word closest to the verb, had been incorrectly chosen as the subject and the verb made to agree with hills, then the resulting sentence would be the stream beyond hills flow gently. Both hills and flow are plural, but hills is not the correct subject. Stream is. The stream flow would be incorrect. Choosing the incorrect subject way may result in lack of agreement between the sentence actual subject and the verb. Next, a verb has a tense. Past, present, and future are the three basic tenses. But sometimes something starts in the past and continues to now, the present, or will be completed in the future. That's why we also have other tenses. Present perfect. They have waited. Something began in the past and either recently finished or has some relationship to the present. Past perfect. They had waited. Action was began and was completed in the past. And the future perfect. They will have waited. Action completed with respect to the future. Even though those are the correct grammar terms for discussion's purpose, let's use only present, past, and future. Now add to tenses the concept of verb being regular or irregular. Basically, a verb is a regular verb if its past and future tense forms are identical and are formed with D or ED. And irregular verbs, past, present, and future forms vary. Our grammar lives would be so much easier if all verbs were regular verbs, but they aren't. Now, let's combine those ideas, tense and regular, and look at the words in the present, past, and the future columns. Across the row are work, worked, and worked. Here, worked with the future column means we use the future perfect, and the future perfect consists of using will plus have plus past participle. So the column number 3 is focusing on the past participle that we're using when we conjugate the future perfect. Fill in these blanks. I walk to the store every day. I walked to the store yesterday. I will have walked to the store 3 days this week. Try these words. Look and listen for a pattern. I talk with Lisa every day. I talked with Lisa last week. I had talked with Lisa about her trip. Now, what if I ask you if you choose the word walked or talked from the second or third columns? Would it make any difference? Absolutely not, because both words are identical. Walked, walked, talked, talked. They both end with ed. These are regular verbs examples. But now look at these verbs in the same 3 columns. Go, went, gone, see, saw, seen. Here the word gone and seen represent the past participle that is using with the formulation of the future perfect. Okay, seen and gone are the past participle of the verb. Okay, note these words in the second and third columns are not identical. Keep looking for a pattern as we examine these examples. I go to town every day. I went to town yesterday. I will have gone to town every day this week. I see the food on the table. I saw the food on your table at last week's party. I will have seen the same food on the restaurant's buffet. In these sentences, you do need to know if the correct verb should be selected from column 2 or 3 because they are different words. These are irregular verbs. In the 4 examples, look at all the number 3 sentences. What they will have in common is that a verb helper is used have or had. Not knowing whether to use the word from column 2 or 3 obviously makes no difference if the verbs are regular, because the same word is in both columns. However, knowing whether to use column 2 or 3 with irregular verbs is crucial. Remember this, the word in column 2 never take a helper. The word in column 3 always take a helper. Saying I seen her yesterday is always incorrect. Seen is in the 3rd column. That one that must have a helper. So correctly, I saw her yesterday or I have seen her. Both are correct. I have went is always incorrect. Went is in the 2nd column and never use a helper. I went to town or I have gone to town. 3rd column. Gone must be have a helper. A list of some common irregular verbs is provided in the resource section for this course. As you look at the 3 column, keep reminding yourself no helper in column 2, always a helper in column 3. Action or state of being, singular or plural, tense, regular or irregular, all of these categories need to be analyzed as you choose that correct verb.